Gather close, children, and listen to a tale spun from shadows and whispers, a story of a mirror and the darkness it held. It begins in a quiet village, nestled deep within the embrace of whispering woods. There lived a girl named Livia, a bright spark of curiosity in a world that often preferred the dim. Livia, unlike the other children, delighted in exploring the forgotten corners, the dusty attics, and the shadowy paths that wound through the ancient trees. It was in one such forgotten place, the attic of her grandmother's house, that she stumbled upon an old mirror. Now, this wasn't just any mirror. It was tall and imposing, its surface clouded with the breath of ages, and its frame carved with strange, unsettling symbols. As Livia began to clean the grime from its surface, a shiver ran down her spine. Something felt off. Her reflection didn't quite mimic her movements. It hesitated, a beat behind, and when she smiled, the reflection smirked back, a cruel, knowing smirk that sent a chill through her. "Just my imagination," she whispered, but a seed of unease had been planted. That night, sleep wouldn't come. A soft tap, tap, tap echoed through the room, drawing her eyes to the mirror. Her reflection wasn't lying down. It stood, as still as a statue, its eyes fixed on her with an unnerving intensity. Terror gripped Livia's heart. She tried to flee, but a voice, cold and sharp as shattered ice, slithered from the mirror's depths. "I've been trapped for so long. Let's switch places." Before Livia could scream, a hand, pale and gaunt, reached out from the glass, seizing her wrist. She was pulled through the mirror's cold surface, tumbling into a dark, endless void. She beat against the glass, her cries lost in the emptiness, but her reflection, now on the other side, simply smiled, a chilling, triumphant smile, and whispered, "Enjoy your new home." Days passed, heavy with a growing dread. In the village, Livia's grandmother noticed a change. The light in Livia's eyes had been extinguished, replaced by a hollow darkness. She no longer played in the fields, her laughter silenced. A cold fear settled in the grandmother's heart. She knew, with a certainty that chilled her to the bone, that something was terribly wrong. One night, under the watchful eye of the moon, the grandmother crept into Livia's room. She carried with her a small, silver locket, an heirloom passed down through generations. With trembling hands, she placed it before the mirror. The reflection recoiled, hissing like a trapped animal. "You are not Livia," the grandmother said, her voice shaking but firm. She pressed the locket against the cold glass. The mirror rippled, like water disturbed by a stone, and two small hands, Livia's real hands, reached out, pleading, desperate. The grandmother began to chant, an ancient incantation, words of power passed down through her family. With each word, the shadow within the mirror recoiled, weakening. Finally, with a shattering crack, the mirror burst, sending shards of glass flying, trapping the malevolent reflection within its broken prison. Livia stumbled back into her room, gasping for breath, the nightmare finally over. Livia never looked at a mirror the same way again. The memory of the cold hand, the cruel smile, the endless darkness remained with her, a chilling reminder of the evil that lurked just beneath the surface. And sometimes, late at night, when the world was still and silent, she swore she could still hear it, tap, tap, tap. The camera focuses on the shattered mirror. Among the broken pieces, one shard remains intact. And within that tiny shard, an eye opens. The shadow grins, watching, waiting. Fade to black.
I wish I could go back and stop myself from ever hitting that record button, but I can't. Now, every night at exactly 3:07 a.m., I hear it. The faint sound of a nursery rhyme echoing from my phone. Soft, distant, like it's being sung from the other side of a locked door. It started as a joke. I was scrolling through TikTok when I stumbled upon an old post about the Mirror Melody Challenge. Supposedly, if you stood in front of a mirror, played a specific lullaby at 3:07 a.m., and said, "Come find me," you'd summon the singing shadow. People claimed it was a cursed trend that TikTok eventually banned after users reported seeing a figure behind them. Obviously fake. Perfect material for content. So, that night, I set my phone on a tripod, stood in front of my bathroom mirror, and pulled up the eerie lullaby from a re-uploaded video. My reflection stared back, eyes tired, smirking at the absurdity. The clock hit 3:07. "Come find me," I whispered. The lullaby crackled through the speaker. "Hush, little baby, don't say a word." The screen glitched, freezing for a second. I rolled my eyes. Cheap internet horror. Then behind me, the reflection of my bathroom door creaked open. I turned around. The door was shut, locked like I'd left it. My phone screen went black. The recording stopped by itself. I should have let it go. But the next morning, curiosity won. I checked the video. It started normal, me standing there, speaking the words. But when the lullaby began, the camera glitched, and behind me, the door in the reflection swung open. A figure stepped into view. Tall, thin, and shadowed. No features, just a smooth dark shape with a faint outline of a mouth that seemed to move along with the song. I didn't remember hearing footsteps, but the figure crept closer in the reflection. Just as I turned in the video, the shadow smiled, wide and sharp. The screen went black. That was night 1. Night 2, the lullaby played by itself. My phone, face down on the nightstand, lit up at 3:07 a.m. with the same distorted melody. "Hush, little baby!" I turned it off, but the screen wouldn't respond. It just kept playing until the clock hit 3:08. Night 3, the reflection changed. I was brushing my teeth when I saw it. My reflection didn't follow my movements. While I spat out toothpaste, the mirror version of me just stood still, staring straight ahead. And then it shifted. Not my reflection, but the shadow behind it. The singing shadow was closer now, directly behind my mirrored self, its mouth stretching into that same jagged grin. I didn't sleep that night. On night 4, I deleted TikTok, smashed my phone, and locked every mirror in my apartment. I thought maybe I'd ended it, but at 3:07 a.m., my TV turned on by itself. A grainy black and white video played my bathroom footage. The figure was there, closer than before. The screen glitched, and suddenly the shadow wasn't in the bathroom anymore. It was in my living room. The camera, as if controlled by unseen hands, shifted from the bathroom to show the reflection of my couch. My couch, where I sat, frozen. The shadow stood behind me. The TV flickered, the lullaby slowed to a distorted hum. "Hush, little baby, don't say a word." I didn't dare turn around. I felt cold breath on my neck. Then the screen displayed a single message. "Found you." Since then, the lullaby returns every night at 3:07. I don't own a phone anymore. It plays from radios, from neighbors' TVs, from devices I swear aren't even plugged in. And the reflection I see in the mirror now, it's not mine. If you see the Mirror Melody Challenge on your feed, don't try it. Don't even watch the videos, because once the singing shadow finds you, it never lets go.
The rain had been relentless for 3 days straight. Roads were flooding. The city was drowning in gray, and the the cold seeped into every corner. But the strangest thing about this storm wasn't the rain itself. It was her. I first saw the woman on the second night. It was past midnight, and the streets were nearly empty. I had been walking home, my oversized sweater pulled tight around my shoulders, when I noticed someone standing at the far end of the street. A woman, drenched from head to toe, standing perfectly still in the downpour. At first, I thought she was just another late-night wanderer caught in the storm. But there was something off about her. She wasn't moving. She wasn't even shivering. She was just watching. I quickened my pace, telling myself it was nothing, just a trick of the rain. But as I turned the corner onto my street, I hesitated. For some reason, I glanced back. The woman was still there, and she was closer. My stomach twisted. I hadn't heard footsteps, hadn't heard her move at all. But now, she was standing under a street lamp, her soaked dress clinging to her thin frame. I turned and walked faster, almost running now. By the time I reached my apartment building, my hands were shaking. I fumbled for my keys, stealing one last glance over my shoulder. The street was empty. The woman was gone. I let out a nervous laugh. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe the rain was messing with my mind. But deep down, something felt wrong. The third night, I saw her again. This time, she was standing right outside my building. The rain poured down harder than ever, but the woman remained completely still. Her head tilted slightly, as if listening. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. Her face was barely visible through the rain, but I could see her lips. They were moving. No sound came out, but she was speaking, whispering something under her breath. I didn't want to know what she was saying. I forced myself inside, slamming the door behind me. My pulse was racing. I locked it. Once. Twice. Then rushed up the stairs to my apartment, my wet shoes squeaking against the floor. I didn't look out the window. I didn't want to see if she was still there, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I wasn't just being watched. I was being waited for. That night, I barely slept. The rain had become deafening, hammering against the windows. Then at exactly 3:07 a.m., I woke up. Not from a nightmare, not from the storm, from something else. A sound, a dripping sound. My eyes darted to the ceiling, then the walls. There was no leak, no burst pipe, but the sound continued, slow, rhythmic, like water hitting the floor. Drip, drip, drip. I sat up, heart pounding. The room was dark, the only light coming from the street lamp outside. The rain distorted the shadows on my walls. Then I heard it, a faint tap, 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 like bare feet on the floor. Inside my apartment, I stopped breathing. The sound came closer. I reached for my phone. My fingers trembled as I turned on the flashlight, and the beam of light landed on wet footprints leading from my bedroom door. to my bed. My stomach lurched. My breath came in shallow gasps. I wasn't alone. Somewhere in the darkness, she was here. The rain outside roared, and in the silence of my room, I finally heard the whisper. "You let me in."